Hello, I am Nadia, dietitian and intuitive eating counsellor, and I recently did a talk for a group of people, and I wanted to jump on here and record that same talk for you, lovely people, while it is still fresh in my mind, because the topic is something that is near and dear to my heart. It's about our relationship with food, and the talk is called For the Love of Food. So let's get started. What's something everybody has to do at least once a day, every day, for the rest of their lives, and if they don't, they die? If you were thinking eating, then you'd be right. We all have to ingest food. It's funny then that this thing, food, that literally keeps us alive, is surrounded by so much controversy. There's so much negative dialogue about what we eat out in the world, and sometimes negative dialogue in our own minds. Today, I want to inspire you to reflect on your relationship with food, and hopefully finish watching this and feel a little bit more positive about it. But first, let me take you back. So it was 1999 and I was on holiday with my family in France. I woke up to the sounds of church bells ringing outside my window and the smell of coffee wafting up the staircase. I ran downstairs to see my mum and great auntie in the kitchen listening to the radio, and I pulled myself up to the dining table and poured myself a bowl of muesli and milk. As I'm pouring the muesli, I look down and gasp, "Is there chocolate in this muesli?" Sure enough, as I was taking my first mouthful, I could taste the sweet, dark, rich taste of the chocolate intermingling with the toasted oats and the roasted nuts. Delicious, I thought to myself. Lunch rolled around and my great auntie placed a bowl of vegetables on the table. They looked a bit weird, kind of like green pine cones. She called them artichoke heads. She then went around and placed a bowl of melted butter in front of each of us, and how it worked was you pull off the leaf of the artichoke, dip it in the melted butter, and scrape off the vegetable with your teeth. At 7 years old, I was a little bit apprehensive, but I can still remember the taste of the vegetable mixing with the buttery, salty goodness of the melted butter. That was 23 years ago, and it is still one of my most vivid food-related memories. Take a moment and think of your favourite food-related memory. I'll pause here while you have a think. Once you've got it, have a think about how old you were, where you were, who you were with. Think about the colour of the food, the smell of the food, the taste and the texture. Food has the ability to transport us across time, across cultures, across countries, across the world. Food uses all of the senses: touch, taste, smell, sight and hearing. As I mentioned, that was 23 years ago. And in those 23 years, I've studied to become a dietitian and worked as a dietitian for a number of years. Also, during those 23 years, I've had my fair share of experiences with more of that negative dialogue around food that I mentioned earlier. After I graduated as a dietitian, I started to notice a difference in the way that people spoke about food around me. They started saying things like, "You're a dietitian, don't look at what I'm eating," or "Carbs are bad, right?" Or "You're a dietitian and you're eating pizza? I'm surprised." Sometimes I think that people think I'm going to put them in handcuffs and lock them up for eating a pie. Over the past few years, I've been working predominantly in eating disorders and disordered eating. And what I've come to realise is that you do not have to have a diagnosable eating disorder to have a challenging relationship with food. And I don't blame people. our society creates a very black and white, all or nothing, good and bad relationship with food. It practically encourages us to feel guilt and shame about what we're eating. You may have heard comments along the lines of, only shop around the perimeter of the supermarket. If you're hungry, just drink water. Or, fruit's bad, it has way too much sugar. I have heard so many food rules throughout my time as a dietitian that I think if I followed each of them, I wouldn't be able to eat anything at all. And I'll raise my hand and say that I have had my fair share of challenges with my relationship with food. There are definitely times I have felt guilt for what I've been eating or the amount that I've been eating. And I'll hazard a guess that some of you might have felt the same. So, with this talk, I'm here to remind you that guilt has no place near our food or bodies. That what we eat has no moral bearing on our worth as a human being. That food isn't good or bad. That pizza didn't rob a bank and kale didn't rescue a kitten. Yes, food is fuel, and it does a wonderful job at being fuel. It literally keeps us alive. And food is so much more than fuel. Food is connection. It's sharing a long lunch around the dining table with loved ones. Food is tradition. It's that Boxing Day trip to Bunnings that wouldn't be the same without a snag fresh off the barbie. Food is nostalgia. It's the smell of hot chips taking us back to those summer evenings where we would eat fish and chips on the beach surrounded by seagulls. Food is celebration. It's watching your child blow out the candles on the birthday cake, so excited to eat the cake after. And food is sensory input, and we know this acutely watching the youngest member of the family smear avocado all over themselves, their high chair, and everything that they come into contact with. And lastly, food is relational, and that relationship is bidirectional. We have an experience with our food based on our thoughts and feelings and beliefs about it, and that food has an experience in us based on those same thoughts and feelings, its origin in our unique body. We wouldn't accept a person-to-person relationship that is based on everybody else's opinion with the absence of joy and love. So why do we accept the same in our relationship with food? Food eaten with joy, thoughtfulness, and intention is going to land very differently in the body than food eaten with guilt, shame, and pressure. So, let's let food transport us. Let's think back to our favourite food memories fondly. Let's experience food in the present mindfully with all of our senses. And let's go on to create many more joyful and wholesome food memories free from guilt and shame for ourselves and our kids in future. Thank you.